Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It is another episode of Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook. As always, we have Mr. Kelly Cook with us today to share some insight. How are you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing great, Elizabeth. I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
You know, I am fantastic.
I don't ask you that every time. I need to ask you that every time.
I'm fantastic. I'm going out to dinner tonight. It's a beautiful day here in Nebraska. We're all good.
Wow. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
It is here too, by the way. It's starting to get a little hot.
Oh, yeah, I'm
sure. Summer's coming. Summer is coming down here in the desert.
I'm sure it's beautiful down there in Arizona. So today we have a very hot topic for you guys. There's been a lot going on in the markets. We've been able to kind of address a lot of these issues because there's all this stuff that's going on across the entire country, right? Demand is still very high. Inventory is still very low in most places. Probably, if you are like most agents across the country, one big objection that you're hearing from sellers, which is what is driving the low inventory, is if I sell my house, where am I going to go? Right? Because, if like, great, I'm going to get all this money for my house because it's so competitive out there, but that means I'm going to have to go into that competitive zone if I'm looking to, upgrade my house, downsize even. Like you're going to have to compete as well. And you may not find a house before you sell yours, right? Or, for the closing times to coincide. So today we want to talk about, as an agent, how are you addressing those concerns, or what are kind of your responses to those objections? Take it away, Kelly. What are you saying?
Absolutely. I mean, that in terms of explaining it, because that's exactly right. That's exactly what people are experiencing in the marketplace today. And a lot of people don't want to sell because where are they going to go? And right now, the good news is that rates are about equal to what most people were able to refinance at. So selling is okay and can be done from a financial standpoint, as long as they have someplace to go. And most people say, well, I'm going to trade dollars, right? Yeah, I'll sell high, but then I'll also buy high too. And I don't want to do multiple offers and that kind of stuff. But guys, this is where you have a chance to come in and educate your clients. And you start always by asking questions. That's number one, right? Asking questions. Because there's a ton of different scenarios, right? And one of the scenarios is, one of the questions should be, okay, now if you are, what's the demand and supply ratio or absorption rate, right, for the neighborhood you're selling, and what's that absorption rate or the supply demand ratio in the neighborhood that ideally, or zip code or town that you want to buy in? Because it could equally be, I've seen this happen multiple times, that it could be that there just happens to be more demand in your neighborhood where you want to sell. And there's less demand in where you want to buy. Or we all know when the market starts to shift, and by shift, I mean it could be a shift of like a millimeter, right? We're not talking anything substantial at all, but a shift nonetheless. Where does that typically start, right? It starts on the higher end typically. Now, the real higher end isn't affected as much, right, guys? You above $2 million, that kind of stuff. Those people are typically going to do what they're going to do no matter what, for the most part, right? But you start talking about the higher end, $1 million plus, when the market does shift a little bit, that those price points stall or sit on the market longer first, right? So I say that because a lot of people right now are looking to move up, right? The economy is good, people are making money, and if they're looking to buy a house, there's a good segment of people out there right now that have a house right now that would love to upsize. And so for that buyer right now, it could be where, if you have a smaller house, let's say, like right now, we had a client who's looking to sell their house for around $700,000, and they're looking up to 1.3, right? Well, there's 3 homes down the market at 1.3, 1.2 something that are all sitting around for about 14 days so far, right? Between 10, 14, 17 days right there. Okay, now let's be honest. That's not long. But in this market,
that's a long time right now.
That's kind of long. All right.
We're seeing stuff going like 2 days or that night,
yeah,
whatever. So yeah,
100% hours, right? Like literally hours. So, but conversely, in their neighborhood, which is very, very sought after neighborhood as well, both neighborhoods are obviously good, but they have a smaller house, a smaller floor plan, a smaller price point, and there are more buyers naturally in that pool. So those homes that are selling in their neighborhood around that price point are going literally in 1 to 2 days still. So you're starting to see where maybe you could sell right now, take advantage of 1 to 2 day sell, a frenzy, multiple offers, etc. And then the house you go to buy, you might be the only buyer on it, right? Even though it's only in the market 10 or 14 days. So these things matter, right? So don't just, when someone makes the comment, oh, I would sell, but where'd I go? And you go, yeah, good point.
I know.
That's not,
yeah.
yeah, I know. That's not what your job is. That's not what you're paid to do. That's not what your job is, right? As a real estate advisor / agent. So ask questions. Now, the downsizing, that could be a little more challenging, but even when you're downsizing, a lot of times you might be selling that $1.3 or $4 million house, right? But it's a neighborhood where it is just, it's full of families. School's getting ready to come up again, in next fall. People are going to start moving here for schools and reposition their families or kids, etc. So maybe there's a lot of demand there, and maybe where you're going for some reason there isn't a whole lot of demand for whatever the reason, right? You just don't know. So you need to dive in, look at those numbers. That plays a huge role, and educate your client that could be the case. The other thing is post possessions, right? Now we talked about post possessions before in the past, but that's a big deal. Now, whether you call them post possessions, or in some states, I know if you go over like 60 days or 30 days or 90 days, then it becomes legally a lease agreement. Okay, whatever. The premise still remains the same. So you sell a property, and there's a good chance in this market, you're going to have a buyer who will be willing to let you lease the property back for a period of time. And maybe they're not even the best offer in terms of like the dollar amount, but they have the best terms. They have the flexibility. So you go, hey, that's worth something to me. So I'll take $5,000 less on the price to have a free lease back for 6 months of the property.
That gives me a little bit more flexibility.
100%.
Especially if the market starts to, I don't think the market's going to go down anytime soon, but you sell your house now. Maybe. Yeah. And especially with summer coming up, there might be more houses available where the competition won't be so high. And you have already sold your house. So you've got that flexibility to kind of take advantage of maybe when those prices go down, maybe a little bit.
Maybe. It's 100%, right? No doubt. And if they close you with 6-month post-possession agreement or 3 months, whatever, that money's in the bank, right? SL is done. So if the market does soften a little bit, maybe you can go and buy your house 2 months from now, 4 months from now, and have a little bit of negotiating power because you have a little bit more leverage now, because now the market is starting to sit. Because what will happen is, guys, it's a psychology of buyers and sellers, right? What will happen is, that one seller that has seen all his friends, neighbors, people in the news, whatever, right, sell their house in 2 days. Now they put their house in the market, 2 months from now, and let's say it sits for 2 weeks. Then they start going, oh crap, what's going on? Right? They start panicking. You come in, I like the house, I want to make an offer, and maybe just don't give them everything and the farm like we're doing right now, and you get a better deal, right? So it's never just as simple as saying you're just going to be trading dollars if you sell high, buy high. And also the affordability rate. The affordability rate, especially, it's all different locally, right? But I'm telling you, in Phoenix and Arizona here, the affordability rate is actually continues to stay very steady around like equal to 2015 prices and overall monthly payments, right? As equal to that. And because again, that's taken off the that's measured by the purchase price, obviously the interest rate of your mortgage, inflation, and median income, right? Well, income has gone up too. So all that considered, your buying power is somewhat equal to what it was in 2015, right in the area of 2016, even though prices have significantly gone up since then, especially in Phoenix and obviously most other places across the country. So you have to educate your client about that as well. It comes back down to, the affordability. Well, I could have got this house, and if I'd have had this, and they were offering 4% rates back then too, whenever, right? 2 years ago, whatever, let's say, right? Okay, fine. But the price is up 20%. Okay. Did you get a raise in your income? Right? Did you make some more money on your job or place of employment, your business you're on, whatever it is, right? You probably did, because most people have, even except for obviously the people who are just ravaged by COVID. That's a different story. But so taking all that in consideration as a generality, it's still a very good time. You make the argument, it's a very good time to buy. It still is. Even because here's the deal. We talked about the market softening. We don't know what's going to happen, but I can tell you in Phoenix, Arizona, okay, the quote was this, and I loved it. Quote was, what has happened is supply and demand have kept going further and further apart from each other, right, for the past X amount of months and even years. Well, now it came back and actually curtailed both of them. Supply got a little less, demand got or more, excuse me, demand got a little less for the first time in a long time. Does that mean anything? Yeah, maybe. Not right now, it doesn't. But what it does mean is that the quote was the market went from 500 degrees to 400 degrees. And no one knows or can even tell the difference because it's still really hot, except for the people actually measuring the temperature, right? Well, if that trend continues, then eventually we're going to go back to balance, which, listen, that's not going to be a bad thing necessarily. But how long will that take? And if you look at the data, at least for Phoenix, given the previous cycles and everything that's going on right now with our unemployment rate and everything, which is obviously fairly low, you're looking at 11 months before it returns back to balance. Now, as it returns back to balance, right, does that mean prices go down? No. No. They just increase at a slower rate along the way, right? So you could buy now, let's say, and at the soonest it goes back to balance, supply and demand actually go back to balance, and it's no one has leverage, right? At the soonest that's going to be is probably 11 months, and so you have 11 months potentially of continued price appreciation, right? Even though it's just going to be that same house that's selling right now in 2 days with 13 offers, maybe 2 months from now will sell for $3,000 more, but it'll take 2 months to sell with one offer, right? So this is how it happens, guys. So know your numbers in your local area, and don't be afraid to assert yourself, guys. You're being paid to give a professional opinion to your client as an advisor. So know your data and give your opinion and stand firm in it.
Yeah. And absolutely kind of the first thing that you had said with, what's the first thing you do? You don't just say, okay, you ask questions, because you might have a remedy, by your vast knowledge and all of that, to educate your client, right? And it depends. And that education could be something different depending on what they're looking for, right? So
that's right.
That's the first step. Ask those questions. That's how I don't know what the quote is, but the best answer to anything is just to ask more questions so that you can.
And the best question, and what's John Maxwell say? The best question ever you could ask is, you know what?
I don't. What is it?
Why?
There you go.
Best question ever, right? Because if you have a bunch of pieces of the puzzle because they gave you tidbits information, your client, right? But you can't quite put it together, then the next question that should come out of your mouth is, why is that? Or why, right? Until you can connect it, understand, because you can't solve the problem, which, by the way, could be inaccurate information that they've received somewhere else, like the media that doesn't know what they're talking about, right? Or whatever, right? Or just a generalization, and they're looking at a niche specific market.
Misconceptions and all of that.
Right? Until you understand everything that's going through their mind and put the pieces of the puzzle together, you can't really help. You can't solve the problem. So you have to keep asking questions to collect that data, put it together, and then, given your experience, your information, or your mentor, your coach, whoever you have, you can then solve the problem. And when you solve the problem, that's when you close a deal. That's when you make your money, right? Not just opening a door.
You got to walk in like you are the answer to everybody's problems, right?
That's right. Like, what was that? Allen, those of us who are a little older, Allen Iverson, right? The basketball player. What was his nickname? The answer.
Okay. The answer to the team's problems. Yeah.
Awesome. Big game shots, right? Big game shots. Well, and guess what? He made a lot of money, right? So the dude who doesn't have the answers, right, and not a good basketball player, he didn't make as much. Not even close.
Nope. He didn't have the answer.
You didn't have the answer.
Well, perfect. We will wrap it up there, guys. But as always, ask those questions. Ask us questions. We'd love to answer them, because I bet you Kelly has the answer to most of them. He is our real estate answer right now.
Yeah.
So
fourth quarter.
Email us. You can call and text them. Kelly, where can they reach out to you to ask any of those questions about anything we've talked about or anything else real estate related?
Oh, I love when you guys do. So yeah, by all means, please, 480-227-2028 or email info@kellycookhomes.com.
And if you are thinking of starting a real estate team, Kelly can give you the answer on that too. He's got it all written down at buildyourrealestateteam.com.
Yes.
Really, kind of the plan, all the modules really tiered out there for you of how you start, where you finish. There is no finish. You're always building, but
Always.
where you can say you've got a team, a solid team. So go download that, and that'll help you. Let us know if you have too, and kind of your thoughts or any feedback that you have or how it's worked for you too. So
Would love to know that. Absolutely. Success stories or just improvement ideas you guys have too. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys, we will see you next week with some more tidbits on real estate. Bye, Kelly.
Awesome, guys. See ya.
Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.